I mean, I'm going to be disappointed. In fact, I'd like you to take, some blank pages with you, at least a blank page, and go, take it to all your family and have everyone sign that's the legal age to vote. And let's get that petition back to Trish so we can get this, as we're talking about unity, get this going.
If we run out of paper, tell them to send me an email and I'll send them a form.
Right, so Trish will be happy, because she contacted most all of you by email. Just send her an email and say, please send me the form, and she'll send it to you as a reminder. In fact, I'll ask her to blast it to everyone so that we can get that out there. Okay, so Jerome, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Sean.
Oh, thank you for coming all the way over here.
So can I get everybody to stand up and at least stretch out? If you can't take a break, stand up and reach to the sky for all your different religions. And we pray that we can maybe unify Texas and New Mexico to try and make a better tomorrow. So get big and high, and I like when he said that, so I'll say no mas.
No mas.
We're going to turn into the fighter from Mexico. Who says no mas? Any good fighters in here?
No, he was from Panama.
Was he Panama? Okay.
His name was Roberto Duran.
So we'll go and sit down and I'll go and start talking, but I wanted to get everybody up and get to the legs, some blood down your legs. So my name is Jerome Padilla. I'm the president of the town of Atrisco Land Grant from Atrisco, New Mexico, which is just adjacent to the city of Albuquerque, the Bloom Fiesta chili center of the world. So we have lots of great chili there. And so I was very fortunate to have Jessica Quinn and Jaime Chavez from our community joining us as well to document this great event for us joining and unifying to share our experience with what we've done in New Mexico. So New Mexico has a little different history, and so I'm really learning a lot about Texas right now and the Republic, and I really can't speak to much of what you guys are going through. I could just kind of tell you what we've done. So in the state of New Mexico, I joined the land grant community in 2006. So our land grant had come under siege from a corporation called SunCal, and our board of directors was trying to sell or merge with a corporate entity to take control of about 55,000 acres in prime development lands, where in Albuquerque the only way to really grow is towards our lands. So I unified with, got together with Jaime and a couple other folks, and I didn't know anything about land grants in 2006. Jaime will attest to that. But since then, I'm a quick learner. I've done a lot of research. And so what we've done is we really work to understand that when we organize and we talk to people, that we know the facts. It takes a lot of work to organize, discuss, get a core group that was willing to battle the battles that you have to do. So what we did is in New Mexico in 2004, a law was passed that allowed land grants, and just for clarification, the land grants in New Mexico, we clarify them as communal land grants or individual land grants. And what I hear here today in Texas is that a lot of your land grants are individual land grants. So individual land grants are a little bit treated a little differently in New Mexico because you can partition an individual land grant. So an individual land grant is given to an individual family, one person, tenants in common for those attorneys in the room versus joint tenancy apply. And when you look at the laws of an individual land grant versus communal land grant, they're significant in that the communal land grant the intent is that the communal assets flow and stay within the heirs of that land grant. And I find it very interesting that you guys have in your Texas Alliance of Descendants, is because in New Mexico we call everybody an heir. An heir is, you're an heir until proven otherwise. And so in 2004 they allowed existing land grants to petition the legislature to create a political subdivision. So basically in New Mexico we have federal land grants that were allowed to create state entities to apply for capital funding, which a lot of land grants took advantage of. A lot of land grants were kind of dormant, not active, and so the recognition at the state level helped to socialize throughout New Mexico resurface the issues that have been going on for many, many, many years. And so the political subdivision, they have a group called the Consejo. It's a group of multiple land grants across New Mexico. There's 285 land grants in New Mexico, and 33 of them are active. So we have a lot of dormant, inactive boards. And so when I met with had the pleasure of meeting with the executive board last night at a restaurant, I really mentioned a key concept that we leverage within Atrisco is that jurisdiction, you know, we have a police officer, control and ownership are all mutually exclusive of each other. And when you have a communal land grant, the jurisdiction that you have over that property is, if it's a federal land grant, you have permanent jurisdiction over that entity, because we have for example, our boundaries were patented by Theodore Roosevelt in 1905, leading the way for New Mexico to become a state during the Enabling Act of 1911. So the New Mexico was part of the Enabling Act process for states, but the problem we had is we were against slavery. So there was a big fight during the Civil War whether we would allow slavery or not, and so New Mexico was really not wanting to be, they didn't want them to become part of the Union because of the fact that we would have been voted against slavery, and some of the voting in Congress at the time were very marginal at best on that issue. And as a matter of fact, we went to war and lost millions, and a lot of people lost their lives in this country, brothers and sisters, for that event. So we have in New Mexico a very strong movement for land grants that has basically re-resurrected in 2004. But despite all that, from my personal opinion, we still have a long way to go. So we have a statewide association called the Consejo. We also have a governor appointed by Susana Martinez, who is our Republican governor in place. Matter of fact, the Republican governor, I'm a Democrat, born a Catholic, not smart enough to change. So I work within the nonpartisanship of land grants, and we went to our Republican colleagues, and they're the ones that carried our bill. So, you know, that was a gesture to mobilize ourselves by bringing together an issue and making sure that it's not partisan. So we basically had, you know, like I said, Republican. So when we did that, it really caused our community to really deal with what we were trying to accomplish, because our community had some separate issues as a corporation, but across New Mexico, the land grants were really trying to find themselves and organize. But unfortunately, the lack of information in most of our communities really, I think, inhibits their ability to stand tall. And somebody earlier mentioned, how do you stand tall when you go to a meeting? Well, I think what you do is, if you have done your homework, if you've done your research, and you go into a meeting and you have your artifacts, your documents together, and I can tell you that when I worked with Jaime and our board, and we have a very strong board, our board and for Atrisco really helped push the legislation in 2004 to make that bill available. So we've lobbied at the legislature, and you know, we have not lobbied having 10,000 people at the legislature. When we've gone in, we've used a different tactic. We've gone into the precincts. I'm not sure if Texas has precincts and wards. It's a lot easier to elect somebody to a precinct level, and it's a lot easier to get people elected into a ward level. So what we did is we basically approached it from a state central committee process, both Republican and Democrat, and then we took advantage of pushing political power through the wards, to the point where we had a senator in our community that was against our applying for political subdivision, fought it tooth and nail with us. And at the end of the fight, we passed our legislation, and she resigned as a senator. So I think that was a really big victory for us, and I think when that happened, our land grant got a little bit better respect when we walked into the political meetings across town. It's still not a fun journey still with us. We still have a big fight and an uphill battle getting the recognition and the political standing in each of our communities. But our town of Atrisco has had a long history. So to give you a little history on before the Enabling Act, in 1848, the Treaty of Guadalupe applies to our land grant. In 1892, we had the city of Albuquerque encroaching on our property. So our elders at that time filed a lawsuit against the city of Albuquerque and the United States government. It's public record. If you look online, you'll find in all the legal websites, you'll find that case. We successfully won that case. The attorneys at the time recommended that since we were now part of the territorial New Mexico, that we were a municipal corporation, which is a city, that they recommended that we take superordinate measures to protect that municipal status, because some of the judges at the time were calling our municipalities quasi-municipality. And so we voted to, about 235 families approximately in our community voted to have an election to put it on the ballot. The vote was just to put it on the ballot, and then they had another vote to successfully petition the territorial legislature to become a municipality. In 1911, we became part of the state of New Mexico, became part of the United States, and the state of New Mexico was created. And then in 1967, a group of legislators lobbied to allow land grants in New Mexico to create a corporation. And so a corporation was created, and that basically started a time bomb. We had a hostile merger with a California company looking for 55,000 acres of land. So they came in and they bought off our board of directors, and that board of directors voted to merge with a California company, and then 55,000 acres went under control of a California company. That California company, through efforts of ourselves and other board members, went bankrupt. We fought them when they were trying to get tax credits. We fought them when they're trying to do this. We fought them when they're trying to do that. Remember, we had gotten into the wards and precincts and getting into political posturing to make sure that we could have a voice at the table. So if anything I could say to you is that through our tenacity and going to the right meetings, going to the right venues to discuss not how I feel, not the documents I had, but the legal basis that we had with some artifacts that I think when you have a large amount of documents that you've read, you've discussed it with your board, you've discussed it with your peers, and you feel comfortable in that, I think you walk into a meeting feeling a lot stronger. You know, one of the gentlemen earlier, the military service, thank you for your service, sir. You know, when you go to war, you don't go without a strategic plan. So I know Mr. Gutierrez mentioned the strategic plan. So I can tell you that when our plan in 2007, after our company, our shareholders voted to merge with that California company, Jaime and I put together a group called